in football, I feel there's always this reticence to changing up structure. And very honestly, a lot of times when stuff changes, they don't necessarily change for the better. I think it could be interesting.
UEFA have gone about it very smartly to try and appease the super rich clubs who obviously were trying to break away, but at the same time maintain their ethics and morals and also try to promote the smaller teams.
My argument with the UEFA Champions League new format is not the format. It is just simply the fact that they are just increasing the workload. They did that with the UEFA Nations League as well. I know Klopp has complained about it. Yes, he complains about everything. But in general, managers have spoken about it and not liked it.
And players need to be protected. Players should be heard in whatever happens. Even when the ESL was happening, none of the players were consulted from any of the big clubs.
Top 3 goal scorers in the Champions League.
Cristiano Ronaldo. Sí. Hi guys, and welcome back to an all-new episode from All About Sports, the podcast, a podcast for the fans, by the fans. Today's episode is going to be a football discussion, but before I get into the episode and introduce the topic, you guys are joined by our regular co-host. We have Rishabh.
What up, what up?
And today, for the first time, we have 2 hosts together. We have Mazhar.
Hey everyone.
And myself, Shabam. Because Mazhar and I, both of us are in London, we thought we'll catch up today and record the episode together. And jumping into the topic, so today's episode is going to be all about football. We're going to focus on the new format of the Champions League, which I think is going to kick in 2 seasons from now. And also have a little discussion about the European Super League, the infamous European Super League, and kind of get an idea as to where the new Champions League format fits in as compared to what the European Super League was supposed to be, and so on. So quickly, just to introduce the topic, the Champions League as of today is a 36-team Champions League. 32-team Champions.
Currently 32.
Champions League. And from 2024-2025 season is going to be a 36-team Champions League. So 4 more teams will be added. And generally, when something like this happens, there are, I think, 2 things taken into consideration. That is a club coefficient and a country coefficient. So we'll just break this down quickly. We don't want to delve into this too much, but just for our viewers and listeners to get an understanding. The way country coefficient works is they see the performance of a country in European competition. I think it's either over a span of 5 years, 3 years, 1 year. We're not quite sure on the time frame, but it's generally how a country has performed. So, for example, if we take England, and for this example, if we take the last 5 years, England in the last 5 years, we've had Liverpool who've made it to 2 Champions League finals, including this season, and they've won the Champions League once. United won the Europa League and made it to another Europa League final. Conference League, that just started. So basically, if you look at England's performance in the last 5 seasons, English teams have been doing very, very well. Chelsea also won the Champions League. So that automatically means that England as a country on the UEFA coefficient would rank higher as compared to other countries, just based on their performance. So what this would mean that any club from England would get the preference for an additional spot in the Champions League based on how the country has performed. And Krishna, now can you just quickly give a brief explanation of club coefficient?
Yeah, it's pretty complicated. Not going to lie, we definitely took a couple of minutes to get a good understanding of what the club coefficient system is. But in essence, it maps back to the number of points that you get in the group stages of any of the European leagues that you play in. So whether it's European Champions League, and I actually have the exact definition here, which I'm trying to pop up. There we go. So it just basically maps back to the number of points that you get in the group stage. But then after the group stage, you get 2 points for all wins from the group stage onwards, 1 point for all draws from the group stage onwards, 4 points for group stage bonus. That's a group, just for getting into the group stage, you get 4 points. To getting into the round of 16, you get 4 points. And then 1 point for each round the clubs reach from the round of 16. So essentially, it's just reflecting how well you've performed in each of the tournaments that you're playing in. But the value does depreciate a little bit depending on the tournament. So for the knockout stages, the points are slightly different. So what I described previously was for UEFA Champions League. For UEFA Europa League, the group stage, the points stay the same, I believe. But for the knockout stages, instead of giving a reward for each stage that they make it through, they still get that 1 point for each round that clubs reach from the round of 16. But group winners also get 4 points, and group runners up also receive 2 points. So it's slightly more different. And then as you go into Europa Conference League, I don't want to make it too complicated, but it basically the points depreciate. It's as simple as that. Like Malu said, pretty simple concept. If from a, and you can see my phone was in hand definitely to explain that. From a conceptual standpoint, like Malu said, it's basically showing how well you've performed in Europe. It's as simple as that, just by creating a point system. It's really just that.
So now that we have tried to briefly make everyone understand what is club coefficient and country coefficient, before I bring Mazhar into this, in the new format, former teams, like I mentioned, are going to be there. Now, how those former teams are going to be there, it's kind of complicated. And to be quite fair, I don't think we have also got a very good understanding of it. So for all our viewers and listeners, we put a link down. Please read it up yourself. And if you guys understand, put it in the comments below. But I want to bring Mazhar into this. And bro, tell me, like, so obviously now they're going to be former teams. Former teams means instead of a 6-game group stage, it's going to be 8 games. That means additional games to be played. And this could have an impact on the league, have an impact on players' fitness, so on and so forth. What is your take on the new format?
I thought when they originally announced the format as well, Shubham, I thought it was pretty ridiculous because they anyway have enough of games. And especially when you look at the English league, because they have the League Cup, which is a tournament that a lot of the other countries have scrapped long back. The German Bundesliga, the German league, the Deutsche Fußballbund got rid of their League Cup ages ago. And it's benefited them. Over that, they've also had their Christmas break, which the Prem has not had. Liverpool will end up playing 63 games this season. Which is the maximum that you can play across any club, I think, in club football at the top flight. When you're talking about literally probably the best team in Europe currently in the world, arguably as well. So like 63 football games in that span of 9-10 months that they play football is utterly ridiculous. And then over that, you're increasing those games. I don't think it works personally. So I get why they are doing it. It's for potentially creating more commercial value, because more teams will be involved, gives more participation, more visibility to some of the smaller clubs from the smaller leagues. But I don't know if that's going to make any difference, which reminds me a lot about how the associate nations in cricket as well, where when some of the bigger countries argued, saying that what a waste of time playing some of these teams. So I get where they come from. I get both sides, but I think 32 teams was already enough, because some of those smaller teams anyway exist in that system. And historically, they've almost never upsetted the bigger teams. It happens once in a blue moon. And even if they do, they just barely make it to the knockout stages, and then they're out anyway in the next round. So I understand that's the charm of football, but we don't live in that world anymore. And the viewership is also dropping because people are losing interest in sports. This newer generation is less sort of attached to the game altogether. So I think all of these problems are sort of cascading, and involving more teams, I think, is just going to drive away more fans than potentially increasing it.
Yeah, I think some of the things that you touched upon, especially towards the end, you said that the youth as in like the current generation, sort of losing interest in football. And I remember I even read an article by Mark Clattenburg, the ex-Premier League referee, who said that now the game should be 60 minutes. So, like, obviously there are a lot of things under discussion. But one thing that you touched upon, Mazhar, which now will come to you, Krishnan, is the idea of, according to me, the idea of now growing this Champions League. I feel in hindsight, maybe it was to counter the threat of what the ESL was to be. And the whole idea of increasing the team size, of course, it has to be with commercial revenue. I understand it's also to drive other teams to come and participate. But then the whole debate around the ESL was that it has to be merit driven. So because it has to be merit driven, the European League had a Champions League, had a Europa League, and had a Conference League. If you perform well in the Conference League, you win it, you go to the Europa League. You perform well there, you go to the Champions League. And that was the charm of football, right? That everything is merit driven. But now with UEFA also expanding it, Krishna, do you think this is because of what ESL was suddenly supposed to be and how it was creating havoc in the world of football? Or do you have like a different viewpoint to this new format?
No, Malu, I think it's undeniable. The change in format is definitely due to ESL. There's absolutely no question about it. I think there was pressure from the teams that they wanted to generate more revenue, the top teams. So I want to give a quick reminder of what the format is and why I actually do give UEFA a little bit of credit, because I think there was a need to, at the end of the day, there was a need to appease both the owners who tried to break away and start ESL, but also to some extent appease fans who were getting upset that football was being consolidated, and as a result they wanted to expand a little bit. So as a reminder to our viewers, the way in which the fixtures will now work is there'll be 4 pots, each containing 9 teams. Each team plays 2 teams from every other pot. So essentially you play 2 teams from pot 1, 2 teams from pot 2, 3, 4, etc. And obviously pot 1 is with the highest club coefficients, pot 2 is less club coefficients, and so on and so forth. The big advantage with this structure for them is, one, you have more of the big teams playing each other right off the bat, because pot 1 teams are automatically playing 2 other pot 1 teams right off the start. And with the number of English teams, there'll be a couple of English teams in pot 2. Like, for example, Barcelona, Juventus, Manchester United, PSG, Liverpool, Dortmund are all in pot 2. So what it's creating is a lot more big games right off the start, because in the group stage, a lot of times what we see is there's one exciting fixture typically in the group stage that's played twice. This creates more exciting fixtures that more people are likely to watch, hence helping with the revenue generation. And I think why I like it is, see, in the group stage, right, it's basically you're playing the same 3 teams twice. This one, you're playing a new team every single game. So that can be something kind of interesting. I think it's completely undeniable that the ESL is what led to this. And honestly, I give UEFA credit, right? At the end of the day, it's in football, I feel there's always this reticence to changing up structure. And very honestly, a lot of times when stuff changes, they don't necessarily change for the better. I think it could be interesting. I can't deny a lot of it is less. I don't think the argument here is this is definitely a better format. The argument is just, hey, we have all these concerns from people have brought up. Let's try and mold this like structure that sort of appeases like these 2 groups simultaneously. So it's not necessarily an ideal format. We won't know as yet till it's tested out, but I'm curious to see it because I just think there'll be more fun games right off the bat. Fatigue, though, like Mas said, will be an issue.
Yeah, I think especially one thing that you mentioned, which it's a great way to look at it, that UEFA have gone about it very smartly to try and appease the super rich clubs who obviously were trying to break away, but at the same time maintain their ethics and morals and also try to promote the smaller teams, which largely UEFA has always done. And the Conference League is definitely a step in that direction. But because you also mentioned about how this is because the new format is because of what happened with ESL. Mazhar, firstly, before we start discussing ESL a bit, just to refresh everyone's memory, what was the ESL and what was the huge controversy about the ESL?
Oh, what a wonderful, the remind us of the 3 days, Mas, that tournament existed. The 3 days and 3 hours.
Yeah, so the European Super League, or which was essentially supposed to be known as just the Super League, was this breakaway league created by the owners and mainly the biggest people running the biggest clubs in European football. So there was Florentino Perez, the Glazers, Fenway Sports Group, the Cronkies. All of them were involved in this, where they decided that they don't want to be a part of the Champions League because they wanted a bigger piece of the pie and they wanted to break UEFA's dominance. It was a power grab sort of move where all the top teams, so we're talking about the Premier League teams, including Arsenal, Tottenham, Manchester City, Manchester United, Liverpool, and 6 of them. Then we're talking about AC Milan, Inter Milan, Juventus, Paris Saint-Germain, and I think Barcelona. We wanted to bring Bayern Munich and Borussia Dortmund on board. Both of them turned them down because they felt like it was demeaning the entire essence of the pyramid structure of football. That was the entire concept of the league. That's why it failed, because of the backlash from fans, because they didn't want that to happen, because they felt like the charm of the entire structure and the main leagues of promotion and demotion were going away, because the Super League was going to be a franchise system, like how all the American leagues function. So the MLS or the NBA, where you have fixed teams, fixed franchises, they play every year. There's no relegation. You finish last, doesn't matter. You pick up the biggest drafts. That was basically going to be the structure. Obviously, I don't think there would have been a draft system, but there were issues raised. It lasted only 3 days because eventually the owners had no choice but to give up. But Real Madrid and Barcelona were hell bent on trying to make it work. Even Juventus, who were one of the main reasons why that was formed, the Agnelli family, all of that ended up breaking off. And yeah, they gave up. But clearly, we all know how Florentino Perez is. If you don't, you can just Google him and you'll find out the stuff he's done and the things he's capable of. But yeah, so the clubs have struggled. Obviously, Barcelona, Madrid, pretty much bankrupt. Barcelona still struggling and have to let go a lot of players because of salaries. So because of all of these things, it was just a money thing. We've discussed this. You can check out that episode as well. We'll share that link as well in our description. So it covers everything and covers a lot of our strong emotions on that as well. Shubham and I were at loggerheads for a change in that episode. But yeah, so what UEFA did was they came out with a strong statement against it. So I like the ESL structure. It was just a wrong way to implement it, because it, at the end of the day, it's a spectator sport. You have to cater to the fans, you have to cater to the greater public, and football is way too close to people's hearts. You can't end up playing around with that. Some things are just, sometimes morals and values have to trump the commercial side of things, and that's why it failed. I know that was quite a long explanation, but yeah. And coming back to what I thought of the ESL, I think that would have worked. I think Krishnan, you're right. The structure works, but the game load is definitely something to consider, because I'm sure Liverpool will be battered going into their their final 2 league games as well, because if they just had a very emotionally driven FA Cup final that they beat Chelsea in. So going into that, so it's just proof and it's testament to the fact that even they are not robots and they need a break. I think that's something that is slowly getting really discounted for. Player care is taking a big hit. So I think that's something to consider. As for UEFA structure, it's cool, but I don't think there's a need to add those teams. You can keep it to 32 teams, still play that structure. If you want competition, anyway, you want the best team to win, just make stiffer task for them. Because right now also, what happens with the draws that come up, it's usually a case where one side of the bracket is much easier for some of the teams than the other side. We're seeing it with we saw it with the Euros as well. We saw it with the World Cup as well. I think that needs to undergo a change altogether, and FIFA needs to look into how this bracket system works now. And maybe that's something that needs to be considered. So in that sense, the ESL was cool because everyone plays everyone twice in one go as a league. I think just so like these going from the group stages into a knockout needs some workaround, according to me.
I think, but even when they announced the ESL, I could not see too much of a problem with it. And although you and cry about the money aspect of it, football is not a charity. There is a lot of money put into it. So if the owners want to make money, it's fine. And one thing that you mentioned, I thought the ESL system, it was a league format. And then after the league format, it was going to be playoffs or finals.
Yes.
Yeah, which I think is a great format. And one thing that you mentioned again, when it comes to the Champions League, very often there's not like a good balance in terms of which team is playing which team. And sometimes one team just gets an easy run of like games and stuff like that. So perhaps, yeah, the ESL format could be implemented in the Champions League. Now, that is something God knows if it will ever happen. But I just personally feel that what UEFA has done is they got scared about the potential of the ESL. And the whole idea of promoting football and having a merit-based system has kind of gone out of the window by opening the gate for former teams. because these former teams is largely just to ensure that teams in England get into those UEFA spaces. Because teams in Spain, the biggest ones being Madrid, Barcelona, Atletico, very rarely you'll see them finish out of the top four. Those guys are secured. In Italy now, with Milan and Inter Milan coming back, and Juve, again that is pretty much secure. PSG is always going to finish first or second. Bayern and Dortmund are always going to get. The competition comes in England, and when you have a team like United, massive fan base, huge money generator, club like Arsenal, these two clubs, and also Tottenham now, these three clubs, they need Champions League football for the money, and also Champions League also needs these clubs just for the viewership. So I just feel like kind of UEFA has played this in a very smart way, but they've kind of opened up the doors for these big clubs to come in. Idea of the breakout ESL, just so that they ensure that that money that they wanted is being generated now. What is your thought on that, Krishna?
So I agree and I disagree. I don't deny the fact that probably a little bit of this is to try and include in the Premier League clubs that miss out. I don't deny that. Having said that, it's still fundamentally still largely a merit-based entry into the tournament. So it's still 32 teams is purely merit-based. Even of the 4 teams that are added on, the first team is the third place team of the league, ranked 5th by UEFA. So it'll never be England, Italy, Spain, Germany. So it'll be typically France, which is, the Marseille and Lyon are not like the craziest teams, are not like that famous. The second team that has to be added in has to come from outside of the top 10 of the UEFA country coefficient. So currently, if we go off this year, again, this is just based on the ESPN article that we leave in the link as well. The clubs that would be in are Brøndby, Dynamo Zagreb, Ferencvaros, and Ludogorets. I don't even know Ferencvaros, to be very honest. So I think I don't deny the third and fourth spots, which are the ones that are kind of pretty much purely based on the club coefficient, are 100% to add in 2 more big clubs that basically would have had an off season, but still finding them a way to get into the tournament. I don't deny that that's the case, but see, still 32 teams are not reserved. Their spots are not reserved. And the 33rd and 34th teams will probably be fresh. So I still believe the fundamental basis, which I think you both brought up earlier, is still largely merit-based, whereas Super Cup was pretty much not. Super Cup was primarily not merit-based with 4 teams that were merit-based. This is primarily merit-based with maybe 2 teams that are probably fringe merit-based. It's not completely merit-based.
Tell me one thing. I agree with you in terms of the third and fourth spot. That seems definitely merit-based, and UEFA also trying to help the countries where the leagues are not as dominant as the top 4, top 5. But the other 2 spots, they are given on coefficient, right?
They are given, yeah. It's so this is the wording. 2 places are reserved for the correct. Yeah, they are just the highest coefficient, which as of now,
if it is all about coefficient, then how is that merit-based? Because if you talk about coefficient, you're talking about the historic performance of clubs. So once you get into the historic performance of clubs, obviously a United and Arsenal, not so in the last 5 years, but a United, or generally speaking, would have been an Arsenal, would have made the spot. As compared to a club, like say, for example, West Ham, which is having a mad season, that should be merit-based. Now, then they should get a Champions League spot.
Sure, but I still think it's merit-based in the sense that whether it's firstly, we don't know if it's a 1-year coefficient or a 5-year coefficient. It's not clarified as yet. Even if let's say it's a 5-year coefficient, you are just rewarding for a broader history is all that you're doing. Whereas for example, Arsenal, like I don't think Arsenal on a 5-year coefficient also necessarily would be that great. They'll be better than West Ham for sure, but they won't be better than Tottenham. So I think that's whereas in the European Super League, Arsenal would have been the primary pick ahead of Tottenham. I hate saying this, but I think the proof in the pudding is sort of like even this system would pit Tottenham ahead of Arsenal, which is frankly well-deserved on a 5-year scale, and definitely on a 1-year scale. It depends on who finishes 4th and 5th in the Premier League, but it's still not owner wealth based, in my opinion.
So Krishnan, I sort of agree with what you have to say and with what Shubham had to say as well. I get that this merit-based argument will always be an argument, but I think it's a fair sort of method currently for benchmarking football and creating the primary competition, because obviously you can just judge where the best players are basis the money they get paid and obviously viewership and so on and so forth. But what I will say still though is my argument with the UEFA Champions League new format is not the format. It is just simply the fact that they are just increasing the workload. They did that with the UEFA Nations League as well by including that and making it a competition. Not to say that's not good. It's added some sort of excitement to friendlies in general and even means something more to the players because now they have to perform there. Otherwise, they'll have tougher fixtures going into the Euros, for example. Again, I know we are being very European heavy in terms of the talk here, but that's because we are discussing the European Super League and the Champions League. But what I will also say is, again, injuries, right? Look at Salah. Salah missed the FA Cup. He had to come out again. He missed the Champions League match because of an injury against Madrid back then.
He's anyways pretty useless. I think in his record in finals is 0 goals and 0 assists.
No, but at the end of the day, you're talking about superstars not being able to feature in the final game of the season in the biggest competition. It's the risk you run. I know that's part and parcel of a sport. The problem is I don't think UEFA even bothered asking the players whether or not they want to have more, like whether or not they will have if they are open to playing a 36 team competition or not. I think players' voices are not given any sort of value in football, and I think that needs to change. We see it working out for the NBA. We've seen it working out for a lot of American sports in general because of the franchise system. So I'm not saying follow the franchise system. Obviously, I'm not one for that in football. But what I'm trying to say is if just a players union, if they spoke to the players union and, they got approval or even some sort of understanding on where they stand from that, then it's understandable because I know Klopp has complained about it. Yes, he complains about everything, but in general, managers have spoken about it and not liked it. Even national coaches had complained about the Nations League format, and not so much the format, just the fact that it's so many more games, and in those so many more games over that these players have to travel from their clubs. They get injured just because of travel half the time, because of fatigue, lack of rest, and so on and so forth. So that's the only point I will raise, and that's something that UEFA needs to be mindful of, for me personally.
Yeah, I think absolutely that's a great point, because at the end of the day, no matter how big a club is only as big as as the players are performing on the field. We have seen that with big clubs like United and Arsenal also. When the performances are not there, obviously there's a decline, and players need to be protected. Players should be heard in whatever happens. Even when the ESL was happening, none of the players were consulted from any of the big clubs, and all these players had their internal meetings, and they also tried to push back against it. I clearly remember Henderson was one of the players who spoke against it. So definitely in terms of players, from a player point of view, they should be consulted more in matters like this. But yeah, anyways, guys, this was our take on the new Champions League format coming up. What do we think? How's it going to be? How's it going to shape the future of European football? At the same time, what ESL was, what are the comparisons? Let us know what you guys think in the comments below. But just before we end this podcast, I believe Krishnan has a fun round of quiz questions for us. So Krishnan, let's go for it.
Okay, guys, it's all Europe related. It's going to go from easy to harder. It's going to start off with Champions League and then go to Europa League. So stats on Europa League are going to be pretty nightmarish, I'll be honest with you. Let's start off simple though.
That means there'll be no questions related to Arsenal.
Huh? Historic. Listen, I've converted, man. I've gone on to Super League style now, man. I'm looking only at historic stats is all that matters. But let's start off with Champions League. Simple, guys. Top 3 goal scorers in the Champions League.
Cristiano Ronaldo. See. That's number 1.
Hang on. Top 3. And quick note, third is a tie. Third is currently a tie. And this excludes qualifying.
So Ronaldo, there's Messi.
Correct.
Wait, this is all time.
Right? All time. But all of them are current players. The top 3, including the ties, are all current players.
Ronaldo, Messi, and I'm confused with Benzema or Lewandowski. I will go with Benzema.
I'm going to go with Ronaldo, Messi.
Third is a tie.
Benzema, Lewandowski is my third tie.
Yeah, I think that's a fair bet. Ronaldo, Messi. Okay. Yeah, Ronaldo, Messi, Lewandowski, Benzema.
Bang on, guys. Cristiano Ronaldo 140, Lionel Messi 125, and Lewandowski, Benzema tied at 86. I actually think when we last did this quiz, was Raul ahead of one of them? I think
Raul was
Raul
ahead of everyone, barring Ronaldo.
Yo, I didn't know that. So I know Raul was way ahead, but now Raul's dropped to 5th on the list at 71 goals. So that's kind of insane.
Yeah, I was going to say 70.
Yeah. So it's kind of.
I'm very keen on seeing is obviously next season. Unfortunately, Mr. Champions League is not going to be there in Champions League. So
not confirmed yet. We don't know that yet.
Oh yeah,
that's true. Very optimistic on keeping them, man.
If he sticks around with United, he's not going to be in Champions League. So for all our viewers and listeners, because I know that the amount of engagement that we have on the podcast is fantastic. So what I want for our viewers and listeners is, if anyone is really interested, can you please do an analysis of if there is any sort of decline in viewership or in Champions League enthusiasm because Cristiano Ronaldo is not there. And I promise you, I'm not even going to ask my co-host for this. If you guys do an analysis and you all are correct in the analysis, you guys can join us for one of our podcasts.
No, it's completely fair. I know they've already lost one viewer in Malu. That's gone. There's no chance he's going to be watching next season.
Yeah, two sitting here only. Two people sitting in
straight up gone.
Champions League next season.
Okay, guys.
Forget Champions League. All European football, I'm just keeping away from it. Nations League, qualifiers, everything. Europe doesn't exist for me anymore.
Wait, does United qualify for the Conference League based on where they're placed right now?
No, we qualify for the Europa League, right?
Oh, Europa. Sorry. Europa.
No, they do.
Yeah. Celebrating. Welcome to Arsenal's life, my guy. Celebrating Europa League qualification.
We're not celebrating.
That's fair.
That's the difference.
That's fair. I'm not gonna lie. I definitely did celebrate. Okay, guys. Next question on this complicated ass coefficient question. So I'm going to ask you a complicated coefficient question. It's a 5-year coefficient question. I'm not going to ask you to actually tell me what the coefficient is. There's the top 6 classic top 6 English teams, right? City, United, Liverpool, Chelsea, Tottenham, Arsenal. Rank them in 5-year coefficient from 1 to 6. 5 years. Just amongst the English teams. Just amongst the English teams.
I'm doing it. I'm going first.
Yes, sir.
So it's Liverpool, it's Manchester City, it's Chelsea, it's Manchester United, Tottenham, Arsenal.
Okay, Malu?
I will go with Liverpool, Chelsea. The only reason I'm switching that up is because they won the Champions League and I think they won the Europa League also in the last 5 years. You might be wrong with that, but I think so. So it's Liverpool, Chelsea, City, United, Tottenham, Arsenal.
Muzz, you are right. It is actually Liverpool, City, Chelsea. Liverpool, City actually tied at 134. Chelsea 123.
Liverpool, City are tied.
I did not expect that.
So they're ranked for whatever reason on the.
They've not made a single final, have they? City.
No, they did.
They made last season.
Chelsea, the one that Chelsea won. Yeah.
Last season.
So, and they've been pretty consistently semi-finalists, whereas I feel Chelsea's dropped out altogether. Have they not been in the Champions League?
But they won the Europa League and then so that's why I understand Shubham's point of view as well. But
yeah, it's close. It's 4 points. So it's not like you're not off.
No, what surprises me is the tie between Liverpool and Chelsea.
Yeah.
That's 3 finals for Liverpool
we are
now.
taking the final this season. That won't be calculated.
Yeah, that won't be calculated. Yeah, so 2 finals, 1 win. Yeah.
Correct. I think what's dropped them a little bit lower is they were lower than City in 2020, the year Bayern won, and then 2021, obviously the year that City reached the finals against Chelsea. So
fair.
And so Chelsea are 11 points below, but the rest was completely right. So it's Liverpool, City, Chelsea, United, Tottenham, then Arsenal. Arsenal ahead of Dortmund, though. I'll take it. Take something with it. Okay, same question. But country coefficient, rank the top. So I'm not going to let you rank the top 6 because I think the top 4 are easy. Rank the top 6 countries.
Okay, so you want to go first, Shubham?
Country coefficients, right? Wait, I need a little time for this answer. Last season, Champions League was won by.
You think about it, I'll go. I just don't care. It's friendly, right? Anyway, so
Yeah.
England, Spain, Germany, Italy, France. I don't know the sixth league also now.
That's why I added sixth.
Oh
That's why I
yeah,
added the sixth.
yeah. That's right. I've got to go with Netherlands purely because of Ajax. Or could it be Portugal also? Ajax made one final, but that's about it. What have they done otherwise? Like, what have those teams done?
They reached a final or a semi? I think they reached only a semi.
Semis. They lost to
Semi.
Spurs. Semis, yeah. So, but they are the only Dutch team because PSV and so on and so forth haven't qualified as far. I know Porto have gone pretty far regularly. Benfica did decently as well, but I don't know how far they've gone. Yeah, I'll go with just to change it up. I'll go with Portugal sixth instead of Netherlands.
So I will go with England, Spain, Germany.
Okay.
I'm confused on the fourth
France
one.
and Italy, right?
France and Italy. Because see, when it comes to France, it's largely just PSG. I can't think of any other French team going the distance.
I think Lyon reached the semis in the year it was the COVID year, I think.
Yeah, last season, 2 seasons back.
2 seasons back, yeah. Because they beat
But
City, I remember.
Yeah. They beat City.
I will go fourth with Italy, fifth France, and sixth. I was actually going to go with Netherlands, but then after the amount of time Mazhar spent thinking about Portugal, then even I was thinking about it. And the thing is, Benfica, Porto, Lyon, if not in the Champions League and Europa League, they generally
Lyon's France.
Benfica, Porto, they generally do perform in either one of the European competitions, Champions League or so. I'll just go with Portugal.
So, guys, you got the 6th team correct. 6th is Portugal, 7th is Netherlands, but Italy is actually above Germany. So you got the 6th team right, but the order of your 3 and 4 was mixed up. So it's
makes sense though, because it makes sense though. Inter's performance in the Europa League, also Juventus's performance in the Champions League has been consistent till till Ronaldo joined.
Yep. So it's England, Spain, Italy, Germany, France, Portugal, and Netherlands. Surprisingly, Austria and Scotland ahead of Russia. I somehow thought Russia, they had that phase where they were pumping in
Salzburg, right? No, but Salzburg.
Salzburg. I forgot. Salzburg is probably single-handedly. Okay, guys.
Will Russia be part of any of the Champions League tournaments? No,
as of now, no.
I think as of now, no. Yeah, I think there's a big asterisk. I'm assuming that has to do with. Well, the asterisk doesn't go anywhere, but I'm assuming that has something to do with it. There's an asterisk on the list, but I don't know. I'm assuming it has something to do with that. Okay, guys. Last question. Maybe not the toughest question. Maybe it is. Same question for top scorers, but all-time top Europa League top scorers. And I'll give you a hint. There are top three goal scorers. The second is basically tied. One guy is from a Scandinavian country. One guy is from a South American country. And one guy is from European non-Scandinavian country.
Okay, guys, thank you so much for watching today's episode.
You guys definitely know all three guys.
Erling Haaland.
Okay.
Europa League.
Yeah. No, they played in the Europa League for a couple of seasons. And Haaland was there.
I'll give you one more hint. The guy who is Swedish.
All-time top scorer.
Oh, all-time, yeah.
The guy who's Scandinavian retired in 2008. So not a current player. The other two are current. One guy is still current. The other guy very recently retired.
Okay. I still got one. Henrik Larsson.
Okay.
Just because he's the only Scandinavian. Oh, no. Wait.
Hey, Hulk. I think Hulk will be one of them. South American.
Okay. South American. There is one South American who's still currently playing in football. South American is still an active player, technically.
Listen, I don't know anything about the Europa League because we have historically never been there. for a long time. It's only after 2013, and I didn't watch it also. So, you're asking the wrong person about this.
No, this is a tough question. I wouldn't have gotten this. I'll be completely honest. But I had to add an in with a tough one.
Okay, you go first, Shubham. I'll
I
think
don't know.
of names in the
I
meantime.
can just think of Hulk because you said South American, and Hulk I know plays for Zenit, and I think Zenit must have played in the Europa League, and
It's a good guess.
I'm the total guesswork. And Scandinavian retired in 2008, dude. I can't think of anyone, man. And who's the third player? What's the hint for the third?
Just a European.
Just a European, but not Scandinavian.
Yeah, great hint. Huh?
Yeah.
Okay, another hint which should be a
Not
complete
not
giveaway.
English also, obviously.
Most iconically played for a team that made a historic comeback to the top tier of their country's league this season. At the end of this season, they were out. They were relegated, and they've made it back via this season.
So it has to be a Juve player, na? Out delegated and made it back.
No, relegated meaning out of the league altogether. They didn't like.
So Juve got delegated and they came back. No? Oh, we're talking about Europa League.
No,
I'm not
wait,
saying that. I'm
out
saying
of-
relegated from their league, from their
Juve
from the
got delegated and then they came back.
yeah, you were back in the
But
day.
they
Yeah,
never
back
played
in the
Europa
day.
League. They always played Champions League.
Made a
Oh,
return.
so it's a Schalke player. Because Schalke were relegated to the Bundesliga 2.
I give up.
Okay, let's give it a go.
Yeah.
So,
Hey, Shevchenko, he played for Chelsea.
and before
Milan.
Milan.
No, they were
Milan.
Champions League.
Yeah, they were bossing it in the Champions.
Yeah.
Okay. Give your names, then even I'll give names. It doesn't matter anyway.
I can't think of anyone. I don't know. So
What's that? What's that Mohawk guy's name?
Hamsik.
Hamshik, huh? Right.
Hey,
No.
what? How will he be all time?
No, he's not all time. I was just wondering. I just saw his picture, and then that's why. And Zenit, no.
Was you were previously on the right track.
Schalke, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, but so I'm I know there are two players. It can be it can be Huntelaar,
Okay.
according to me. So it's
Hey, what about that dude? Pato.
Alexander Pato.
AC Milan played none in the Europa
He
League.
barely
Pato.
played,
He
but,
was always injured.
yeah. But okay, I'm going with Huntelaar,
Okay.
or it could be Raul, but I'm not sure if Raul played enough for Schalke.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Madrid.
No, but he joined Schalke.
He joined
later.
Schalke after that. Yeah.
He would have been Buddha by then. And also, Huntelaar,
Okay.
South American.
You know, I feel it should be one of the Sevilla players.
I'm
because
going-
these guys win every Europa League.
Yeah, but I don't know anyone in Sevilla. I don't know anyone in that team except. So I mean, who do I even name? I'm going with South American. I don't know. Yeah, like Brazilian, Colombian, could be anyone. Argentinian.
Guys,
Except
reveal
also
karo.
the
Hulk.
fiber will come.
Hulk. I'm going with Hulk. Fuck it.
Okay, guys.
Hulk. And last, no, the Scandinavian. I'm going to stick with Henrik Larsson because he's the only Scandinavian I know who retired around that time.
Okay, guys. Here's the reveal. Wait, I need to get to my Chrome tab. There we go. Okay. Number 1, 31 goals from
Bas.
Sweden. Henrik Larsson. Good job, Mas. What a blast from the past. What a blast from the past.
Dude, Europa League all time is 31 goals.
Yeah, because the issue is like if you
UEFA
become
Cup.
good in Europa, you go to UEFA. So like you
Yeah.
can't consistently
Go to
be
the
in
Champions
Europa.
League.
So it's a
Like,
big
unless
issue.
you're Sevilla, then you look to qualify for Europa.
Yeah,
Unless you are them, but then you don't have a choice because you win it, then you anyway go up.
Yep.
No, after you give your answer, just
Yeah.
Google now. When did the Europa League actually start? Is it as old as the Champions League?
So it's began from it used to be known as the UEFA Cup.
Yeah, UEFA
until
Cup.
from 1971 to 2009.
No,
2009.
when was it called the Europa League?
2009 onwards, it changed to being called the Europa League. But
So
this is
literally
including-
Henrik
this is
Larsson.
This includes the UEFA Cup though.
Henrik Larsson has held the record since it was called the UEFA Cup, basically.
Yeah. Correct.
Hmm.
Okay, guys. Now tied for 30. There are 2 people tied for 30. First guy, Dutch player. It is
Huntelaar.
Klaas-Jan Huntelaar. This is a tough.
Let's go.
It's mad, huh?
The
That's
third
actually
guy
amazing.
is Colombian, one of the countries Mazhar mentioned. Radamel Falcao.
Falcao. Yes, we should have got that.
I thought you.
We
I
should
actually
have
thought you
got
would get.
that.
How did you not? I'm
I
impressed
thought
that
he'd
you
be
got.
first.
Yeah. I'm impressed you got Larson, but not Falcao.
I blanked when you said South Americans. I
Yeah,
couldn't
yeah.
think of South Americans. That's why I thought of Colombians, and then his name didn't come up. In my head, it was James and this guy, the
Bernardo.
Liverpool guy right now.
Luis Diaz. Luis Diaz.
So like all, and then Yerry Mina and all were coming into my head. Falcao didn't come to my head only. Obviously, if Falcao would have come to my mind, I would have mentioned him. But yeah.
Good one.
Good one. Good question. Yeah, because he spent most of his time with Monaco.
Yeah.
So with that, guys, that's the wrap to our today's podcast. Please let us know in the comments below if there are any specific topics you want us to cover. Let us know your thoughts on this podcast. And I believe we asked you about how would the Champions League perform without Ronaldo. Please do some research and let us know. Hit the like button, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon so that you all are notified every time you'll get any new episode from us. I'm learning from other YouTube videos. Thank you. And till then, guys, take care. We'll see you all in our next episode.
Bye-bye.
If you like this episode, make sure to leave a like and share it with anyone else who might be interested. You can also subscribe on any social media platform that you prefer, and all our links are in the bio. We also have a website with all our episodes as well as blogs and a whole lot of other sports content, so make sure to check that out as well.